I now welcome Tim Hardy in studio with this week's men's soccer report.
The Point Park men's soccer team had a rough week going into 1-2 and being outscored 9-4 in the stretch. They faced their old team rivals back in the American Mid-East Conference, Huon College, and they brought the fire to this one as well. The first point was against the undefeated Huon College, who beat the Pioneers 2-0. It was a tough battle, being 0-0 in the first half, but in the second half, in the 70th minute, John Carpenter hit a free kick from 22 yards out from the cage, while in the 78th minute, Landon Sheffer had a header in. Then the Pioneers faced Westminster College for another non-conference game, who finally got their first road win of the year after being tied in the first half being 1-1. Jonty Luke scored the goal, and in the second half, Troy Dunlish, the freshman, had the final 2 goals along with Christian Mika. Westminster had tied things up with a goal made by Ethan McCarthy's goal, and Darren had also had 4 stops and 1 goal against him. That momentum didn't last long though, because their first win, because they had to face the number 3 in the country, Rio Grande, in the NAIA, and it wasn't pleasant losing to them by a shootout 6-0. Rio Grande scored in the first 5 minutes and last 5 minutes. Los Filo made their goals with 3, and Paul DeLago had 2. They also was an old opponent of Point Park in the AMC. Don't get their hopes down yet, because sometime over the break, we have seen a new improved Pioneers team who has won 3 straight games they had was on a roll going into the KIAC conference games. The Pioneers faced Steele College, and it was a close game after the first half, being the score 1-1. And then the goal was scored by Max Flick in the 16th minute. Going into the second half, Point Park took control and ran the score by scoring 5 more goals. The final score was 6-1. Max Flick scoring 2 other goals in the second half, and also got into a fun was Mamida Nanko, who had 2 goals. Gambio Columba was delivering assists left to right with 3 and also had himself a goal. Darren had 3 saves with 1 goal allowed. While Point Park faced their first KIAC opponent, and it was against Cincinnati Christian, who they beat 11-0, coming out with a bang. Usman Jeddah and Lucas Sylvia both had some of them pull out their sleeve, and they pulled out a hat trick. Gabriel Columba and Jonty Luke scored 2 goals apiece. Brett Gosden scored also a goal. Then Pioneers faced Wittenberg University and having back-to-back shootouts, being them 5-0. Jonty Luke and Usman Jeddah led the way with 2 goals apiece, and Troy Deluxe had himself a goal to Point Park. It's on a roll, and they are over 500 with a record of 6-5-1, being 1-0 in the KIAC, Chris.
Now, Tim, you look at that there. The Pioneers were a little bit under 500. They just had a couple bad games on the road, finally getting their first road win. But then how much of a statement does that send? Their first KIAC opponent, they beat 11-0 on the road.
Well, Chris, I have to tell you, being Cincinnati Christian 11-0 coming into the KIAC was a bang. I gotta say, I give it a Point Park, I give it an effort. They played a great game, and it's starting to see a lot of players come into the roles. Usman Jeddah was a big one. He's starting to get himself on a roll. So we'll see where this goes, but so far in the conference, Point Park's looking real dominant.
And then not only that, they win 11-0, then they come back home and beat another team 6-0. Tim, how big is it for the offense to all of a sudden just start clicking, as well as the defense too? They not only win these games by scoring high amounts of points, they're shutting out the opposing team too.
Well, I would say offense would be the key, but it's really the defense. When their defense is on a roll, the offense kind of just clicks in. So I'm really proud of the Point Park team having great defense and showing that they can make stops to be able to shut down the team and being able to eventually have goals allowed, because they keep firing. So it's seeing a lot of good things from them.
Thanks, Tim, for the report. Now we send it over to our stand-in rugby reporter this week, Kelsey Metzger. Kelsey, how did the team do?
The This is the third loss in a row for the Pioneers. Afterwards, Point Park junior Nathan Keenan said, "We just made a lot of stupid mistakes." Keenan was the only player out for this week for injury after a bye week that allowed the team some healing time. Other members of the team played with local Pittsburgh Rugby Club, the Pittsburgh Hooligans, to get more experience with new members of the team. In this week's matchup against the Pioneers, Robert Morris Colonials, the Bisons scored 3 tries but had no conversion kicks. In the first half, junior inside center Mike Beavis was the only Bison to score, leaving them at a deficit of 5-22. In the second half, junior Troy Johnson and sophomore left winger Jake Como each scored a try, bringing the final score to 15-55, and a win for Robert Morris. This year's Bisons are being referred to as the underdog of the team in the conference and have gained a great deal of fan support. The Bisons looked right to the ship to see their next matchup against the Franciscan at home.
Kelsey, look at this team. They started off with that big road win against Fairmont State, but since then they've dropped 3 in a row. What do they really need to do to kind of right the ship there in this new union?
You know, Chris, I think a lot of this is just about experience. You have a really young team out there, and you have a lot of injuries through this season thus far. So I think it's kind of just getting over the hump that they're at right now and getting through this point with the team that they have.
Now, one of the big things they have going for them is they have one of the biggest fan bases on campus for sports, Kelsey. How much does that really help this team, even though they have a lot of inexperience this season?
Well, I think that's huge for this team. You look at it, it's actually only a club team here at Point Park, and it's becoming bigger and bigger each semester as it goes on. And I think it's huge that, students come and support this team, and as it's just kind of getting its foot in the door in this new setting and everything. So I think it's great for the team.
Thanks, Kelsey, for the time. After the break, we will have Matt Kruth in studio with a national sports report. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Pioneer Sideline here on UView.